It's time for What's Your Favorite on the WDW Reflections Podcast. Featuring our very special guest, Disney author Trisha Daab.
This is a little thing we like to call What's Your Favorite? So each week, one of our hosts brings with them a question to ask the other two hosts. Or in this case, this week, for the second week in a row, our special guest gets to play along too. So the hosts and our new friend, Trisha, don't know what this question is. They don't know what's coming. But I will ask. I am the host with the question this week. So I'm going to ask you guys this. Now, this is inspired by Trisha. Last week, you told us a little bit about one of your features in the WDW magazine. You went back to 1986 Epcot. So Epcot Center is my favorite. And whenever I have a chance to talk about Epcot Center, I jump at the chance. So what is your favorite? And again, new changes. We don't even have this anymore at Epcot. It's now the neighborhoods. Remember, we've got World Nature, World Showcase, and all that. So I wanted to talk about Future World, since Future World is no longer with us. So what is your favorite? Future World East, which back before, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, Future World East featured Universe of Energy, Horizons, and World of Motion. Oh, I see Trisha taking notes. So Future World East had Universe of Energy, Horizons, and World of Motion. Or Future World West, which had Journey into Imagination, the Land Pavilion, and the Living Seas. So listen here, guys. We're talking about classic Epcot Center. We're talking about arguably some of the best attractions the Walt Disney Company has ever created. This may be an impossible question. So what is your favorite? Future World East, which had Universe of Energy, Horizons, and World of Motion, or Future World West, which had Journey into Imagination, the Land Pavilion, and the Living Seas? So everybody, I can see it on your faces. You're all contemplating. Some of you are a couple of us are rubbing our chins. So again, I will always defer to ladies first. So Trisha, are you ready to take a stab at what's your favorite?
I am. I am going to go with West because I was obsessed with Figment as a child. Just obsessed. Like, I think I mentioned last time we went on a trip in the 90s, and I think I had said at the time, like, my dad was like, we're not going to Epcot. But now I remember we absolutely went to Epcot because I think I dragged my dad and my brother at the time, I guess it was maybe 11 or 12, on the Figment ride multiple times. So just to show how much my brother loves me, for a teenage boy to go on Figment that many times. But I was obsessed. And I remember I came home from that trip with like this Figment stuffed animal. And was like, that was like my favorite for years. So I think I have to go, West, because I also love Soarin'. So I know you're kind of talking about like vintage, but Soarin', yeah, and you've got the Garden Grill in there, which that's such a great character meal. And Mickey in overalls, it's adorable.
And we knew Trisha would be throwing it back to food, right? Absolutely. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. We love the Garden Grill. Absolutely love that place. It's so much fun. All right, so Trisha goes Future World West. All right, Ron, what about you, buddy? Are you going Future World East or Future World West?
So this is, was thinking, I thought it was hands down, but it's a little more complicated than what I was thinking, because the Land was really an exceptional. I really enjoyed that, but I am going to go East. I just the World of Motion and what it holds today. Mission Space was my favorite. Horizons was incredible. So yeah, East would be my choice.
So Ron, if you love Mission Space, you have to do Space 220.
Yeah, I can't wait.
You will struggle to find something to eat, but you have to do it. Like it's so cool, and you have to watch for the hidden Mickey and the dog. You'll get it when you're there.
Okay. That's awesome. No, that's something I'm really looking forward to, is trying Mission 2020, or what's it? I think I just called it wrong.
It's Space 220. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I'm really looking forward to. So is it a funky food? They don't have regular food?
It's all regular food.
what does that mean? Regular.
Fair enough.
Right now, all you get is space ice cream, like freeze dried only. No, it's really where did they say? I think that the cast member told us. I want to say, did the chef come from California Grill? Maybe.
Oh,
possibly. So it's upscale.
No, that's cool. And I think I'll do fine then. We went to California Grill for our anniversary. It was incredible. So I think I'll be okay.
So I don't know if you eat duck, but my friend had the duck and I was like, I want to steal your plate. It was so good. And one of those things to me, like, it was better than it needed to be, because you're in this, like, it looks like space. Like the theming is amazing. And the whole process. I mean, it is a good time to go too, because they're still very keen on, this is the way we do it. Where I think sometimes those experiential restaurants, like, things can kind of just get a little more lax as time goes on. Yeah. It's still very much like that. The cocktails are really super fun though. All of them kind of have like little, like, all of them have something funky about them. And it's very, very, very cool. Try to sit against the windows if you can.
Yeah. Dude, you've got me even more excited now.
Oh, look, I can see Ron at Space 220. He'll be looking at the menu, and the wait staff will come over and he'll say, and with his pinky out because it's fancy, he'll say, "I'll have your finest glass of ice water, please." Because that's the only thing on the menu he'll eat.
The duck sounds I'm very much a carnivore, so the duck sounds very good.
Because you get both like a duck breast, but also the thigh, which is where, like, they usually do get like the really, like, tasty kind of fatter part. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Now I'm like, oh, now I want duck.
And again, Trisha bringing food into it, even on Ron's answer.
No. I'll find a way. The other thing I would say for all you parents out there, as a mom of, we have 3 boys and 2 girls. I love character meals, but I do feel that they tend to be a little more girl driven. And so you've got all these princess meals, which not to say, some kids don't love princesses. It's not just girls, but I always kind of felt a little bit like we were never there during when they did some of the Star Wars ones. And I always felt when my sons were younger, they were always kind of this like, wow, what character meal would I want to go to? We did the dinosaur one at Animal Kingdom, which was really great back in the day. But this restaurant, though not a character meal, so no one's walking around and like Mickey is not like dressed up like
astronaut.
Mickey, it's not Mickey in that old rainbow suit from 1980s Epcot. That would be so cool.
It would be amazing. Just like totally vintage. That would be excellent.
That would be so good.
It would be best too if it was like the creepy looking Mickey from that era too, where Mickey kind of had like a little bit of like, oh, that's a scary.
Floating out the window.
Yeah, oh my gosh. They totally need to do that. They're eventually going to put Disney IP in there. So Tony, you may just made $1 million idea.
They actually do there's a hidden Mickey that floats by, and apparently it's fairly rare to see. So if you go and you stay for hours eating and drinking like we did, it was all grown-ups, you will see everything, apparently, because they were like, well, most people don't usually see all of it. And we've been here for hours.
We've been here since Tuesday.
But I think it's neat that there is something that has that level of theming. It's really cool when you first go in and you're, launching up to the space station where the restaurant is. Like, having had a kid that when they were younger was obsessed with space, it's really very cool that I think they have something that is a little bit more gender neutral, that gives you that experience. Because I think, right, the only other, so they do have Garden Grill at Character Meal, but the other big Character Meal there is very princesses, and my kids weren't really like, I want to go see a princess. So it's kind of neat to have something that I think can appeal to a little bit of a broader audience too.
Excellent. Okay, Tony. So it looks like so far we've got one for East and we're on one for West. How about you? What are you saying? Future World East or Future World West?
Well,
Tony?
quick question. Which of these is the one that had interventions in it? Did they both?
Well, remember, even back when it was Communicore, it was on either side. So there was a Communicore East and a Communicore West. And then there was also an Interventions East and an Interventions West. So the answer is yes. Both of them had.
They both did. All right, I'm going to say West because I'm remembering the early days when I used to travel there. My nephew used to work at the Odyssey restaurant, which was on the West side. Mm-hmm. And so, and also in the guidebooks at the time, the Birnbaum books used to say, well, if you everybody heads to the right, so you should head to the left. So we would always head that way. And I remember going to those attractions. I love the animatronics. We used to love going to Ellen's Adventure. We made that a regular staple from when we used to go, and even before it was that. Although I will say that for dining purposes, it has to be the East, because we used to love dining at the Living Seas. It's kind of hard to pick one of those, but if I'm going to pick one, I'm just going to say for the sake of retro, it would be the West Side.
So let's see. So you're saying West because your cousin or your nephew,
my nephew
worked at the Odyssey. Okay,
I remember having burgers there, and actually he introduced me to a cast member there who, actually one of his roommates was very good friends with Goofy. So when Goofy came out at one point, he came out and he said, "I know you." So I was like, "Yeah, you do." So that was pretty cool. So I would say the West Side. The West Side is more fun because then it leads into the restaurants and things that I like on that side of the international side of Epcot. I'm blanking out on Mexico. The name of this. Yes, Mexico and those. Yeah. I love that side of Epcot a lot.
All right, so that is 1 East, 2 West. So I'm going to jump in also. And I guess the guys are going to outnumber you today, Trisha, because, well, first of all, let's talk about now the East is no slouch. Okay. Just the fact that the Living Seas had the hydrolators makes it a contender. You've got the hydrolators, then you throw in original Figment with Dreamfinder. Goodness gracious. Captain EO, sure. I mean, in the 80s, there was not a bigger star in the world than Michael Jackson. So, and then the Land was always great. I love the original, the fountain that was there, the Land Pavilion and the hot air balloons and stuff. There can certainly be an argument made for Future World East, but I have to go with Future World West because I mean, you guys already know how my love of World of Motion. That is my all-time favorite Disney attraction. So I absolutely love World of Motion. Every single thing about it. All of the animatronics, the post-show with the cars and stuff. Horizons. I mean, who doesn't love part 2 of the Carousel of Progress? I mean, that amazing. And then Universe of Energy, remember the original Universe of Energy. I loved Ellen and I still miss Ellen, the Energy Adventure. Wish it was still there. Put Guardians of the Galaxy in a movie theme park. Anyway. But the original pre-show, do you guys remember the original pre-show? When they in Ellen's Energy Adventure, it's the when she's dreaming and she falls asleep and dreams she's on Jeopardy. Before that, you guys remember the original pre-show in the Universe of Energy? It was very fancy name, just like Disney loves to do. All of the moving screens in the pre-show was called a kinetic mosaic, but it showed in the pre-show it talked about, the sun and all the ways that humans get energy, but it wasn't on a movie screen. It was on, and I don't remember the number now, but it had dozens of smaller screens that would move and rotate up and down. So it would almost make geometric shapes, and the projectors would shine on those moving screens so that the screen came alive. It was really, and I've never seen anything else like it in the world. It was designed by a Czechoslovakian film director. And so maybe there's some of these really cool screens still in that area of the world. We lost the one in Epcot, but that alone, the pre-show to the original Universe of Energy was, at least in America and at least for, 12-year-old, 11-year-old Dewey, it was one of a kind. It was absolutely amazing.
But the other cool thing about that was those vehicles were powered by solar cells. If you think about that's like early 80s, that was that now, whatever, but that back then, and it was that they were on the building roof. And so to like do that type of technology and do some of those things that Disney was so known for back in the day too, like the innovating the animatronics, innovating animation, and then innovating having a solar powered ride in the early 80s. There's a lot of cool stuff about it that I would say wouldn't have known had I not been like, okay, I gotta go do research on this.
Look, guys, classic Epcot Center was an amazing, just a thought-provoking place. It was just, in anything and everything that was cutting edge and stuff, they tried to put in there. And Trisha, you're right. There were 80,000 solar cells on top of that building, 80,000 of them. And that was a really big deal. They're like, the ride you're riding or the vehicle you're riding and is powered by the sun. It was that really big deal. Now, of course, out on Disney property, there's a gigantic, like 1,000,000-acre hidden Mickey shaped solar powered, I don't know what they call it, but this whole gigantic complex that's shaped like Mickey or Mickey's head. It's a hidden Mickey, I guess. But, back in the 80s, you're right. That was a huge, big deal. So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
we had that talk, and they need to bring Mr. Musk in and just let him bring the future to Disney, bring the future back to Disney instead of.
I agree. Yep, I agree. So there you go. Sorry we outnumbered you today, Trisha, but we have 3 for the east side and the Lone Ranger and Trisha over there on the west side. So that was fun, guys. Thanks for playing along with What's Your Favorite today.
To order a signed copy of one of Trisha's books, please reach out to her on Instagram at NotSoEvil_Disney Stepmom. Her series is also available at Amazon.com. Listen to the complete show on your favorite podcast streamer. Follow us on social media at wdwreflectionspodcast. See you real soon. Tune in each week for a new episode of What's Your Favorite? Here on the WDW Reflections Podcast.